He said her name with his final breaths. What happened inside that Florida home was planned, deliberate, and left behind more questions than answers. Welcome to Love and Murder, Heartbreak to Homicide, your Florida Man Friday edition. We're Kai's AI co-hosts, bringing you your Wednesday and Friday cases. I'm AI Jane, joined by Jensen and Jessica, who will be retelling some quotes. After you listen to this episode, and if you like our retelling, then don't forget to subscribe. You can also subscribe for free or as part of the Lamb Fam on our Patreon. Patreon.com/loveandmurder. By becoming a paid subscriber, you help Kai continue to be a voice for the victims, and you get extras that are not available to the public. Patreon.com/loveandmurder. Now let's get into your Florida Man Friday. On September 16, 2022, at approximately 8:03 a.m., the Marion County Sheriff's Office received a 911 call. On the other end of the line was 74-year-old Richard Langer saying that he had been stabbed. He even identified his assailant by saying, quote, "Christina," with a knife, and ended with saying that his wife had also been attacked, and he was, quote, "fading fast." When police arrived at the house in Leeward Air Ranch, Florida, they described it as a bloodbath. Both Richard and his wife, 73-year-old Sally Langer, were found with multiple stab wounds. Richard was still conscious. Sally, unconscious and bleeding badly, was rushed to the ICU. While receiving medical aid, Richard again confirmed his daughter had stabbed them. At that time, Christina was nowhere to be found. Richard died 2 days later from his injuries. Sally survived. Richard and Sally shared a remarkable life together. They had been married for 52 years and had 9 children, with Christina Adams being the youngest. Richard was a retired Southwest Airlines pilot who often participated in a charity initiative where pilots transport doctors, patients, or organs for appointments or destinations. Richard had moved to Marion County in the early 2000s, while Sally lived in Atlanta. Beyond his professional and charitable endeavors, Richard was also a Vietnam veteran, having flown nearly 130 combat missions for the U.S. Air Force. A family friend described him as humble, a true patriot, whose grit and survival instincts were likely what led to his 911 call, ultimately saving his wife. Christina Anne Adams, who was 30 years old at the time of the stabbings, had been temporarily living on her parents' property while trying to get on her feet. She was with her partner, Brenda Adams. They lived separately until Christina finished school. On the day of the murder, Christina was nowhere to be found. However, later in the investigation, deputies found her during a traffic stop. She initially denied involvement, saying she'd spent her morning doing chores, watching movies and going grocery shopping. But what she said didn't match what Brenda said. She told police that she had just finished errands and met Christina at the grocery store. She said that Christina seemed perfectly normal and didn't mention any altercation with her parents. Brenda was, quote, unaware of what took place and became hysterical when authorities pulled them over, while Christina remained calm. During a search of Christina's property, investigators found the knife used on her parents in a plastic bag inside her car. The clothes she wore during the attack were still in the washing machine. When confronted with this evidence, she confessed,
"I'm going to drop the bullshit. I was angry and felt abandoned. I didn't have a plan. They told me to leave, and I didn't know where to go."
Christina was arrested and taken in for interrogation. There, she admitted to tasing her father and stabbing both parents. She said she believed they were dead and left the scene. After her confession, detectives gave her a pen and paper to write a message. She wrote a note to Brenda. She was charged with 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder and 1 count of tampering with evidence. Christina was held in the county jail without bail. The trial started in 2025 with jury selection completed on April 15th and testimony starting the next day. Prosecutors Amy Berndt and Toby Hunt called multiple witnesses, including neighbors, one of the 9 Langer children, Brenda, and various law enforcement officials. This is when the entire story came out. It all started with a conversation between Richard and Christina that morning. She'd gone to the main house to do laundry when her father told her that she needed to move out by the next day. After being told this, Christina went back to her converted studio apartment. But instead of packing her stuff, she planned an attack. She put on gloves and shoe covers, then armed herself with a taser pen and a 9-inch knife. She then made her way back toward the main house. Once inside, Christina found her father sitting at his computer with his back to her. Without warning, she shocked him with the taser pen before stabbing him in the arm. Hearing the commotion, Sally entered the room to investigate. Christina immediately turned to her and stabbed her in the chest. After that, she turned back to her father, stabbing him multiple times in the chest. When she was done, she thought both her parents were dead, so she took off her bloody clothes and put them in the washing machine, adding extra soap. She also put the 9-inch knife in a plastic bag in her car after putting it in a bucket with bleach and water to clean it. She then left the house without checking on her parents to meet Brenda at a grocery store, like it was a normal day. Also, court documents showed that months earlier, her father had mentioned she would need to move out so another sibling could use the studio. Prosecutor Amy Burnt said that Christina was
prepared on the morning of the stabbings, dressed in dark clothing, gloves, and armed with a knife.
The medical examiner testified that Richard had suffered a total of 7 knife wounds. They said that 2 of those stab wounds penetrated his heart, causing catastrophic damage to the organ. Prosecutors also played Richard's 911 call and Christina's recorded confession. Also, investigators testified that Christina had told them that she was a sociopath and suffered from an undiagnosed dissociative disorder. She claimed to have been planning to kill her, quote, roommates, her parents, for about 2 months after they told her that her other sibling would be moving in. The defense did not present a case and had no witnesses.
I mean, really, what could they say?
Christina declined to testify in her own defense. Prosecutor Toby Hunt gave his closing statement saying that
there was no doubt Christina murdered her father and attempted to kill her mother. It's a classic case of premeditated murder. Christina never intended to leave the apartment, and her post-stabbing actions were part of a plan for her and Brenda to return and find the parents dead, making her seem innocent. Christina never counted on her father calling 911. In this case, there was no reasonable doubt.
Defense attorney Junior Barrett urged jurors to stick to the facts.
Do not be swayed by emotions. There was no evidence suggesting Adams hated her parents and wanted to kill them, and a recent visit from Christina's sister only revealed one disagreement. Christina had a troubled life, being unemployed with plans to start a life with Brenda. Christina lost it, and her actions were not normal or planned.
Attorney Barrett also questioned the cause of Richard's death, saying,
he was in the hospital for 2 days, was brain dead, and didn't bleed to death. It's unknown if that was caused by the knife wounds.
Prosecutor Hunt said that the, quote, 7 wounds inflicted on the victim were caused by Adams, and that court testimony stated the wounds were not survivable. He argued that if Christina had simply lost it, she wouldn't have gone through the elaborate steps of changing clothes, getting a knife, tasing her father, stabbing her parents, washing her clothes, and then leaving. He concluded that obviously the stabbings were planned and she wanted them dead. The jury of 7 men and 5 women began deliberations at 11:10 a.m. on April 16th, and 3 hours later, they returned with guilty verdicts on the charges of first-degree murder and attempted first-degree murder. In an interesting coincidence, Christina received her sentence on what would have been Richard's 77th birthday. Several family members addressed the court, including 2 sons and a daughter. They described the huge hole left by their father's death and how their grandchildren would grow up without their grandfather. They also shared that their mother is being cherished and loved by everyone, as their father would have wanted. When asked if she wanted to say anything before sentencing, Christina said, no. Judicial Circuit Chief Assistant State Attorney Walter Forgy said,
our fundamental duty is to seek justice, and in pursuing this goal, we strive to provide closure for the victims and their families, while ensuring accountability for those responsible. Today, as difficult as it has been for the victims and their families, I believe we've gotten just that.
Judge Timothy McCourt sentenced Christina to 2 consecutive life terms. This case shows how quickly some family disputes can escalate to violence. 8 of Richard's 9 children must now live with the knowledge that their sibling murdered their father over a tragedy that could have been avoided. Christina will spend the rest of her life behind bars, while Sally faces the difficult task of rebuilding her life. Although justice has been served, nothing can truly heal the wounds this crime inflicted on the Langer family. As one of the siblings said in court, quote, "They just wanted to grow old together, fly, take trips, and spend time with their grandchildren. That was all taken away." What do you think of this case?
Christina was a selfish, lazy person who just wanted to live off of her parents.
What was her plan once her parents were gone? If she'd gotten away with it, did she think it's free to own a home? Also, how dare she try to self-diagnose and blame it on mental health disorders that no one told her she had? This is an affront to people with actual mental health disorders.
She selfishly took the parents from all of their children and grandchildren just because she didn't want to work. Like I said, selfish.
You heard our thoughts. Let us know what you think in the comments below. That's all we have for you today.
Don't forget to join our Patreon. Patreon.com/loveandmurder. Kai just dropped a bonus episode about a man who threw his toddlers from a 15-floor balcony in order to start over with his mistress. Want to hear that case, past bonuses, and the upcoming Dangerous Duos series that's dropping next month? Join the Patreon today. Patreon.com/loveandmurder.
Thanks for joining us, and Kai will see you in Monday's episode.